All right, so we're just gonna ride the low trail all the way out to, we'll go through the land before time, and then we're gonna turn and go uphill. And what I'm trying to do is we're just gonna kind of
make a loop
and go all the way to the top. We haven't been on snowmobiles up top yet, so we'll see how that goes.
It'll be fun.
Oh, it'll be fun. We're 1,000 feet out right now, and then this runs up, but there's a lane that goes all the way to the top. You can drive snowmobiles all the way to the top if you're working that system or working back that way. I tried to put lanes everywhere.
Smart access.
And there's some good trees. It's not horribly dense in there, but there's some really good trees, but it wants to fall that way.
This is what you said might be 2,000 tabs?
Yeah, between what's here and what's on the other side, but there was a location down there that I kind of planned for a sap house when things got better, clutch, you know, and then we could get power to it and just make a little substation and feed it back over to that one, because I don't know if you possibly could lift it, bring it into this with a doghouse that you could keep warm, but it may not be worth the effort. But there is, this whole thing, there's probably 1,500 taps in it.
I got you.
Down here. And there, I mean, there's some good maple in here. This is lousy with grouse in here.
No kidding.
Oh God, when we were out, my brother-in-law and I, when we were trimming lines this past winter, we both carried pistols. It was kind of fun, just plink them on. So this is the LBT, if you will.
Land before time.
Land before time.
Well, they're pretty good sized trees.
But this was stupid populated, so we wanted to take out, and unfortunately, we got hit with the ice storm shortly after, and it was pretty open in here. And I see we got a fair amount of dieback on some of these trees, but they're still healthy, they're still alive. That stuff will shed. But you can see, look at the crown depth is not as much in here,
yeah,
as it is back here. It's because these things were so heavily populated, they were just growing to the moon. These are really tall trees. But over the next 10 years, you'll start to see them kind of flush out a little bit. You'll get some epicormic branching, where they'll actually start branching down below once they've gotten.
I got you. Which probably gives it more leaves, right?
Yeah. Your ideal is 1/3 crown depth. If you could have, well, these probably don't have 1/3. They might be a quarter.
For
crown.
timber industry?
No,
or
for
sugar
maple. No, I mean, ideal for timber industry is no crown depth.
Yeah, right.
Saw logs. But this thing should have been harvested 25 years ago. But this is really a productive chunk. Well, this one did, this segment from this right here, from this booster on that way did 34 gallons per tap last year.
And it is the newest tubing too, right?
Yeah, which obviously helps.
Yeah.
Stainless fittings, you know, and it's got more vacuum potential because it's got a 10 horse on half the taps as the other one. But I put that there so that if we're going to get down below there, there's a chunk off the end of this that may be able to come in to a sap house.
So like down in that little valley right there, the other side, is that what you were calling like swamp?
There's a hardwood ridge down there. Just at the bottom of this hill is where our property line ends. And then our forester, actually, the guy that does all the harvest work for the mill, owns a pretty good chunk there, and he owns off the end of this too. But that bottom line right there kind of carries around. We can maybe drive down in there. I haven't put a trail in. Where that stuff that's below us could be brought back over this way. And so if you put a sap house there, where we stop back that way, that stuff wants to flow there. That stuff could kind of come around. You just have to get it from that point, either up into a dog house to take in or underground in that other pipe down there. So we're gonna just keep driving and turn uphill, and we might stop out there in a little bit at the manure spreader, but then once we start uphill, it gets a little bit steep in a couple spots. Maybe let me go up first and lay a trail in, and then kind of make sure you're holding on solid.
Sweet.
That thing gonna hold on if I get...
Oh, yeah, that's a magnet. He's just turning it around. He could have rode up to the base. That's a little rough.
A little bit.
I think he's gonna give it another run and go.
Trying to really break trail.
Yeah. He's in his element.
We are not. It's pretty out there.
You see that? Yeah. He's not gonna be able to do it. That's quite the, needs a groomer. You notice he's widening the trail every time. He can do it again. He ain't giving up, this is fun.
If I could get through there once, I'd turn around, come down, and lay a pretty good track. I'll try one more.
I see you're widening it every time.
It just gets so beat up.
Is it just from that big drift?
Yeah. There's a lot of snow right there.
Yeah, I see that.
I'll try one more.
Well, there's a beautiful view behind me. See if you can see it. We'll get up to the top, we'll be able to really see it, but I think Lindy's enjoyed himself. I know I am.
Piece of
That was a little
cake.
close.
Piece of cake.
I got off a little bit on that one.
Did you?
I punched through on the left a little bit, but was
Look
able
at
to
this
put the
view,
hammer
buddy.
down and pull out of it.
Like an old veteran.
Look at that old Fred, he ain't got no.
Look at that old veteran. The only thing better would have been if you just blew past us. 100 mile an hour. He's still packing it down. What's he doing? Oh, he's gonna back himself down it.
I thought you might have been in trouble when you went.
Oh, when I cut off the left a little bit, I started going that way.
Look at that thing. That's so cool. That's so awesome.
I thought I was in trouble for a second.
I see you got way off there, but that thing digs pretty good.
Yeah, look at
You've
this.
got more clearance than we do too. So
Look
you
at
can
those
keep
cleats.
biting.
Really, I didn't have to give it that much either, and it dug right out.
I was surprised how much you just came up that hill and your skis aren't even touching.
Well, these things are set up to float in the
Yeah.
front, and this has got wider skis. If you can keep the front above stuff and just put it all on the track, you got.
It looked totally different from the front, seeing that track coming up through there.
So, just for purposes of discussion, we're going to go on out past those cedars to what we call the bluff. That is
Okay.
the bluff. Everybody in the last 100 years around here, they call it the lookout. It is the spot, the eastern UP, that you can see more of anything
No
other
kidding.
than the Mackinac Bridge. If you're standing on top of the Mackinac Bridge, you might have a similar view.
And the bluff is part of this property?
Yeah, that's right here.
So that's what we're on. What is that higher elevation there behind you?
That's another elevation. We don't own that. We actually own just a little bit more here. And then that property was my brother-in-law's. And I think it's transitioned, but there's a commitment from the new owner. If we wanted to tap lease this section out to the road that we're going to hit, which is before that bluff, all the way back to where our tubing is on the top over here. And I estimate 3,500 taps in here.
Okay. So, you know, 1,500 here, 3,500
It
here.
starts that out. So
You could get to 10,000.
you could. When we're up here at the furthest southwest portion, we'll look back to the north and I'll show you. It's almost better from up here where the areas that we drove by, you know, below the tubing that get a little bit like this. They all go downhill, obviously, and then we'd have to get it from there back. But if you took this stuff here, would dump into the main lines that are at the bottom of this hill.
Gotcha.
In fact, I've already had it ribboned to come up that gut and continue out to the road and then herringbone it back in. Wouldn't be a lane, wouldn't be a need for it because of the, we'd probably do 400 foot to 500 foot runs off of that herringbone. And there's one other spot back on the bluff that we could kite up the face and get the remaining going back that way.
Gotcha.
So it'd be like 3 wet dries coming up to handle it. But there's between 3,000 and 3,500 taps up here, and they're good trees.
I got you.
Actually, you look out through here. We timbered that 12 years ago. We went through, took out a bunch of pulp and a few cankerous saw logs, and just left the good stuff. So it's pretty stemmed up in there, up top here.
Yeah.
What you don't find in these woods up here is you don't find many of those. They're either this or they're a wolf tree nobody can cut. That behemoth, you know, 22 inch, 24 inch, you just never find up here. Partly growing season, partly harvesting techniques. And we found it timbering this about every 10 to 12 years and reducing the basal back down to that 70, 80 allows just continual growth, continual harvest. My brother-in-law's been up here 31 years maybe. And he's cut the same property 3 times. Conservatively,
Gotcha.
but it can be done.
Yeah.
Actually, it needs to be done.
I
In
understand.
some stands, it needs to be done that way. To go in and do a 30-year cut and leave it devastated is not a good recipe. To do a
Right.
good residual cut and do it 10 years or 12 years from now, that makes sense. That's prudent. Now, everything below us, back to that road, you remember the road we turned and come up the tubing?
Yeah.
We're following the bottom and then we turn right back here. This is all tubed underneath of us here.
Can't even see it.
Well, it's out there.
I see it now. I see it. Let me see if I can zoom in.
But, however, when you get to the road, which is not very far down there, everything to the north of that and then back to the east is not tubed. But I could not make that fall into current collection. It would have to go into some other little substation down below.
So this is all tapped below.
This is tapped, yeah.
So these bears on the limbs, is that constructed?
Porcupines, they just love this. They hide out in these crags up in here, and then they just go out there in the heat of the day and sun and feed. And so there'll be days like that. Very few. I just come up here with 22 and walk these ridges.
And just
And find them in the trees, yeah.
Yeah, now that I'm looking for them, I can see a few places
Oh,
where
yeah.
they're chewing at them.
I don't mind when they're doing those little scrub trees. It's when they get into the good stuff.
Right. I can see it now.
They'll kill it.
I see, so that's right there.
So some of our dieback
That is porcupine chew.
Porcupine dieback.
It's all up in these little trees, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll bring my grandsons up here.
Shoot them all.
Turn them loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For $19.95 an hour, Fred.
1995.
Clearly
Hell,
you
I'll
know
stay on the
what-
payroll for 1995 up here.
Are they worth nothing or less than that?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
so
That's pretty amazing.
you can see the water tower up there, the green water tower. That's Rudyard.
Okay.
It's a little bit hazy, but on that farthest ridge out there is Canada.
Yeah, I can see it.
And there's wind towers scattered both on this side of 75 and that side of 75.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of them out there.
I've been all through that. They call it Prince Wind and Prince Wind 2. The same guys that sighted that one came down here and worked with us. And they're like, yeah, I don't know why not. Look what you're dealing with here. This ridgeline is the focal point of all the wind that comes through here. In fact, if you notice, these trees up here are shorter. You maybe don't notice, but trees don't like wind.
I got you.
Because the temperature change, it actually is colder up in the wind than it is down below. And so they just don't grow as well.
This is crazy. So the tent caterpillar, is that just like a random thing that happens?
So they tell you it's about once in every 15 to 20 years. And it's a rise and fall scenario because they've got just a few natural predators. Flies that lay eggs in the larva. And they consume the larva before it has a chance to hatch out. Wow. And then there's some other parasites. Plus there's one big beetle. It's about like that. And in years where you're seeing a lot of that, it's after an influx of caterpillars, and then they come to do their job, and then they kill the caterpillars down, and then they start to dissipate because there's no food source, and it's just this. Now we hadn't had one here in about 20 years, I'm told. I haven't been up here other than 13 years, but it's been about 20 years where we had a hell of and no predators. So it stripped us off pretty clean. Not as bad as some of the places in Vermont the last 2 or 3 years, which are horrible. I mean, they're talking 100% look like that during the middle of the summer. We were probably in segments 70% defoliated.
Now, will they come back?
The caterpillars?
trees?
Oh yeah, I mean, it doesn't kill them as long as there's,
Hurts your sugar season.
it doesn't hurt it the year of. It tends to hurt it several years after.
I got you.
Because of the sugar store
To
potential.
grow back, yeah.
But we got hit with such a large amount of them that I thought, you know what, I'm not dealing with this. So I hired a guy out of southern Michigan to come up and bomb it with Thuringian. And we did get a pretty effective kill. You could walk out and just see. You got to get them in their third instar. There's 4 instars. You got to get them when they're in the voracious eating mode. And
So
we hit
they'll-
it just right.
What's the investment in something like that?
What's that?
The investment. How much did you have to invest in
I
that?
don't know, 10 or 12,000. And everybody looked at me like, really? And I'm like, you're damn right. And it worked because the Sugarbush to the north on that other ridge, they didn't have, we were kind of the epicenter in the whole of Michigan. We were the only ones. I talked to all the state agencies and everybody. We were the only ones that were really dealing with it. So I bombed them, and they didn't. And then the next year they called me. Who did you use? Because
They got nailed.
they were a year behind. They hit them really hard too. So that's the bluff.
Very cool.
So, if you were to be down there and you looked at these, it's just layers of,
Yeah, it's just.
of rock.
I mean, there's holes up in there and little crevices and.
Porcupines.
Bear den?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we found bear tracks before, that were denned up.
Never
come
seen
out.
a bear in a while.
Oh really?
Let's go down there. I'll find a hole.
So
and poke it.
when I was putting
Jump
in
in there and shoot him out.
when I was putting in the booster, the last booster we came to for the LBP and manure spreader, spring of the year, on my 4-wheeler, drove out, parked, and I was just getting my stuff around, my sighting compass and all that stuff, and I see movement out in front of me. And I stop. Well, here comes this big old roly-poly bear. It was just walking right at me. And it clearly didn't see me. And I stood right beside my four-wheeler, and it got from here to your snowmobile from me.
Oh my.
Before it just went, like, what the hell? And then he peeled out and off he went.
You guys don't have a spring bear season, do you?
No.
You got a fall or winter or something?
Yeah, there's a fall season. All right, so we're going to go back out this trail and then swing around in between that other ridge line. And basically, once we do that, all these trees on the left back to our tubing are subject to that lease. I'm not going to get into the details because that's between Jared and Scott and Luke. But at one point in time, I was going to ribbon all this and bring this down the hill too. That's pretty good maple up in here.
Gotcha.
Are they open to that? Or
Yeah.
So it'd be like 3,500.
I think so, Nate. It's hard to say. I'll tell you what I do know. Look at the crown depth on these trees. Now these are edge trees, so they're
right. It's almost half.
But yeah, so it's 50% crown depth up here. So you don't have quite the height, but you got a lot more leaf mass. So when you get down in a little bit more of the shaded areas where there was a little bit more competition and the trees kind of tend to grow like this, they make good sap too. But I'd rather see big old deep crowns. I mean, if you could tap nothing but edge trees, I don't know how that's possible, but if you could, you'd be pretty successful.
We call them road trees in Ohio.
Yeah.
Roadside sugars.
And I mentioned, I said, hey, you know Shepherd's, it's another timber outfit, is getting ready to put in a Sugarbush. They are? Yep. Well, let's do it. Really? Yeah, let's do it. Start investigating. So I drove all around Vermont, New York, anywhere to have me. Started this. I met up with Brad. You don't see this type of contiguous land because this literally goes for miles. And we don't own it all, but if ever you wanted to, you probably could figure that out. Of course, when I was younger, I'm like, I'm going to maple from here to St. Ignace, but then reality sets in.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's fun work, though. I like the engineering side of it more than I like the production side of it. Just do. I don't mind the production side of it, but it's like the necessary evil for me.
Yeah, you and I are a lot alike.
It's like building sawmills. I love what I'm doing, but I ain't going to run it.
Yep.
I ain't going to sit there and watch boards go by.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
A little bit.
We have a sawmill, and once it's put together, I'm like, okay, Austin, have fun. You don't mind running the sawmill.
I kind of like it.
It is cool.
It's better than being inside, putting caps on bottles.
Right.
Yeah.
Tough to beat that. It's tough to beat that.
Yeah, it is. That's a good time right there.
Split, and there's a wet drive that goes right up the hill.
You want to grab lunch with us?
Where you headed?
Wherever you say. That place we ate last night was good. I'd go back.
Oh, no freaking way.
Oh, you just...
Slow down, I can grab one when we go by.
Yeah. Look at them. Roll your window down. I don't...
They're stupid.
Okay, I got one redhead in there. That's a Jake. There's a couple Jakes in there. There's no long... Oh, there is one Tom. Okay, see that one?
Right there.
See which one? So look for the darker, the brighter red's heads. Right there. He just kind of tripped. He's got a nice little paintbrush for a beard. He's back there in the brush, walking away from us now.
Really?
Yeah, he's got right there. Okay. Oh, that's a double bearded Jake.
Huh.
Okay, there's a second long beard walking to the left. He's kind of alone right through the brush. He's got a better beard. Yeah.
Look at those
So
things.
many of those things that just like...
Back home, they're so freaking hard.
Well, because they get hunted. Up here,
You have to kill. If you don't kill one in the first week of the season, you're gonna struggle all year to try to kill a Jake.
Point it. There you go. Put that round.
All right, we got one Jake on the left-hand side. Yeah, that's the same flock.
I can't even see him in the camera.
You can tell.
Okay.
Well, there's
Right
Ernie,
there,
there's Steven.
See two long beards.
There's Edward.
Three long
It's the
beards.
same
that
flock.
just-
I knew it was.
Okay, there's.
There's Patrice.
Here, you want to get him from here?
Oh, sure.
I got three long beards in that group and a bunch of Jakes. Now in the spring when they break up, they won't all be together. But if
There's
you
a
can
big
get
boy
on-
right there.
Yeah.
That is a big one.
Yeah.
Huh. Some wildlife
Pretty
up here.
neat.
There's three Toms in that group, maybe four, but
Plus the Jakes.
a lot of Jakes. Yeah.
They're on the side of the building.
Yep.
To the right.
So we're out of here. My hat is always crooked. I'm like CC Sabathia. So we got Fred in the back. We didn't leave him.
I'm here.
What did you guys think?
I was impressed. Very cool place. Well laid out, well designed.
Nice dump truck.
Yeah, they got a dump truck. That's a big plus.
Oh, should we shut the gate?
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
It's called Ooh La La.
Which
There
one?
he is. Right in
Oh,
the
he
middle of
is
the road.
strutting, isn't
And there's
he?
one strutting on the left, too. It's pretty early for him to strut like that.
Some turkeys.
Awfully early.
I wonder how fired up they are.
You gonna do a turkey call?
Get one to shock gobble back at me. That was pretty cool right there.
Tommy Tom Tom is.
There you go.
That was pretty good right there.
Yeah, that'll be funny. Put that on YouTube, huh?